What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Live Button Podcast with your hosts, Dad the Gamer and Pastorgainz. Listen, we got a good one for you. We're going to be talking about what is good content today on episode 8 of this podcast. So, good content, it can be a lot of different things. It can be subjective. It can be definitely better than other content. But in your opinion, Dad, what is some of the good content that you see? What is some of the standards that you set for yourself when it comes to good content? And overall, is good content subjective? You know?
Yeah, I think. I mean, good content is subjective. It is 100% subjective. Because you look at all the different types of content that you see on social media, right? TikTok and YouTube Shorts, YouTube as a whole, and tons of different content gets traction, right? In terms of like, I know you and I are very similar, Pastor, in terms of how we kind of build our content, right? We had Morph about a month ago where he talks about how he pumps out a lot of content over the course of, a day, a week, right? And it's very raw, unedited, right? You and I are different because I do not like to post unedited content. I like to pre-record all my content, sit down, and make sure it's well put together. It's got a nice flow to it. It's got a nice story to it. It's got a nice timeline to it, right? But obviously, Morph has had a lot of success on TikTok and growing out his YouTube. And once again, his is maybe not on YouTube, but on TikTok, it's very much flip open the camera and I'm going to record something and we're going to post it, right?
Sure.
So once again, it is very subjective. But I've had a little bit of experience growing out. My TikTok and particularly in my YouTube channel, posting gameplay clips, which is what majority of people are trying to do, right? Majority of people aren't in the Twitch advice space or the trying to grow out a channel, doing that, right? And I will say 100% you cannot clip dump. Clip dumping is just taking your raw, link from TikTok or from Twitch and posting it on social media and expect that you're going to get tons of views without editing. You have to be able to go into that clip and edit it to tell a good story from start to finish. Now, I will say I already see the comments because I made a TikTok about this on my account before, and I had a bunch of people tagging other creators who were like, "Oh, this person does it and this person does it." Look, there's always going to be one-offs, okay? There will always be one-offs from like what we talk about in terms of, how to, grow, right? And there's always going to be somebody, well, they did it and this person did it. Awesome. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you go into those people's profile, they post 20, 30 videos and they get, very low views. And then they have one video pop off, right? At that point, it's more about consistency rather than posting good content on a consistent basis. And I think you'll get more results out of posting, good content over a period of time rather than trying to just, spam the algorithm with just Twitch, clip dumping over and over again over the course of time. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're right with almost literally everything you just said. But my thing with good content is the fact that it is so frustrating because it is subjective to every single person that views content on their phone or their PC or whatever it might be. Like what I may think is funny, you may not think is funny. What I may
100%.
think is a really good gameplay clip, you may not think is a really good gameplay clip. I will agree that I have never been one for game clips, obviously, because, and I think the reason being is because it's not my niche. It's not my field of view. You know what I mean? Like I have spent the last year and some change putting out Twitch content and teaching people and doing that kind of stuff. Whereas if I had started with game clips, that could be a possibility that I'd be singing a different tune because argue with it as you will. TikTok does have an algorithm that pins you into a certain place. I've tried to veer from that algorithm. It doesn't work. It pulls you right back. I've heard a lot of people say you need to make content for you and not for the other people. Okay, sure. Make it for you. It'll make you feel good, whatever. But that's not going to get you followers, right? Like, and I don't want people to hear that and tell me like, oh, you have to make content you don't like in order to get followers. No, but at the same time, you need to be very aware of what content other people like and what content is getting views and what your videos, how they're performing. Like if you are
100%.
putting videos out that are not getting views, guess what? It's not good content. It just isn't. And you know why we can say that is because I have put videos out that have not gotten almost any views. I've had videos get 6 million views. I've had videos get 7 views. And you know what? The videos that got 6 million views were the videos that were super relatable, that were funny, that were short, and they all were able to wrap all that in a nice package and give it to the consumer or the viewer within the course of like 15 to 30 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That makes good content when it hits all those different things. Now, like I said, it's all frustratingly subjective. And that's where I think a lot of people really get frustrated is they do see, well, this creator does it, and this creator clip dumps, and this creator puts 1,000 game clips on and all this kind of stuff. Sure. But at the same time, they have a different audience. Every single person's For You page on TikTok is different. And I think that's the beauty and the curse of TikTok is what works for Dad the Gamer is not going to work for me. I don't play Warzone. So even if I started to play
sure.
Warzone and put Warzone clips out, you've already unlocked the Pandora's box of the perfect storyline for a clip. You give a startup, you give the concept of the clip, and then you have the clip go on, and it wraps itself up in a nice package once again to give it to the consumer. I would much rather watch something like that where I know what's happening, if it's context to the game, context of what you're doing in the game,
Yep.
rather than just flipping into my For You page and seeing a gameplay clip with no camera, no context. I immediately flip away.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on a couple things in terms of veering off content as well. I have, for one, on my my main YouTube channel, Dad the Gamer. That's where I posted a lot of clips, right?
Sure.
Really since I started streaming, and I've grown that. Listen, it's not anything crazy, but I'm approaching 700 subs, and I get consistent views on my content, right? But if I go post anything else outside of my gameplay clips, particularly Warzone, I get no traction out of that, right? I get it's very low views, and so what I did is I went out and created a secondary YouTube channel because I really feel like these algorithms, they pick up on the content that you're kind of putting out, and that's where you kind of people talk about niching down and being able to find your audience, right? And I found my audience, right? But every time I try to veer off of that in terms of posting a different type of video with different tags, title, YouTube doesn't like that. YouTube is like, what is this, right? And I think it's the same thing across all social media platforms. You got to kind of figure out. I'm the same way with TikTok. Not a lot of people know this, but I created a secondary TikTok account of just me being me. I've only posted one video, but I want to, be out there a little bit more, but I know posting on my main account, me being me, I in the military, that kind of stuff, it's not going to get a lot of traction just because it's not what that algorithm is kind of tuned for me to do. So you have to, once you start posting something, kind of stick with it, and that's when these algorithms are gonna pick up on it. But I mean, in terms of like, quote unquote good content, I think the biggest thing is I mean, we talked about it, editing. You have to edit. You have to edit your content. If you're not out there editing your content to make it, stand out from everyone else, because if you really look at the amount of content that's uploaded on a daily basis, really on an hourly basis, you're competing with a lot of people, right? And you want your content to stand out versus everybody else. So if you're one of those people that are just going, if you have a Twitch clip, right, and you're like, hey, you know what, I want to post that Twitch clip, and you just go and grab that and go to, whatever, Streamlabs or these websites, and you just dump it, and it's really just the entire clip unedited, you're going to have a hard time growing and getting a significant amount of views on that particular clip. Now, not to say that it's not possible that the video goes viral, because I've seen plenty of videos on social media go viral that are unedited. But we'll get into this at a different time. But I really feel like going viral is not necessarily a good thing. And if you talk to a lot of people that have gone viral, it's
been there, dude.
It's not it's not something that I don't want to say you want, but you want a more sustained audience over the course of time, rather than trying to spam the algorithm like, oh, this one didn't go viral, this one didn't go viral. No, like just keep posting and slowly grow out your audience, because eventually that audience will trickle over your Twitch side, and you'll be able to have that sustained viewership on Twitch from TikTok and YouTube Shorts, right? So now, I've talked a lot about the gameplay stuff. So I've kind of gone back and forth with like hooks, right? I have some videos where I did a hook, and recently I've been kind of not doing hooks. There's kind of two reasons for that. One's more of a I don't want to say a laziness to it, but like
Tell him, dude.
when I
Tell
gotta
him what's up.
do a hook, I gotta like do my hair right. I gotta like look presentable. I can't look like it's like 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm editing my content, right? It's gotta look good. So it's more about me just being selfish and then like not
Oh my
posting a hook.
God.
But I
Yeah.
will say, surprisingly, my videos that don't have hooks do pretty close to doing the same that do have hooks.
Mhm.
So once again, I think it's just more about editing and having, being able to present your content and tell that story from start to finish, rather than just taking a raw clip from TikTok, or I'm sorry, from Twitch and just posting on social media and spamming these algorithms.
Yeah. And dude, I think it ends up being, where does the production value go? I mean, at some point you have to get into this mode of like, okay, all the what we'll call good content TikToks, typically if you're looking at in the Twitch space, like I know the majority of people hold up their phones and they record something and
Yep.
it's funny or it's comical or they're just recording what they're seeing and it goes viral. And I don't understand it because I spend, and I know you do as well, Dad, you spend time sitting at your computer in DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro and you are hacking clips to pieces and you are adding music and you are adding titles and you are adding text and you are adding captions and hooks and all this other kind of stuff. At what point does production get in the way of quantity of content that you can produce? Because I'm still under the impression that like the more quantity you have on TikTok, the better things go. However, at some point, and there's multiple points here that I'm bringing up, but at some point, the quality, if you're serious about this, the quality of your TikToks and the quality of your content needs to go somewhere. It needs to go up. And like I was talking to a few streamer buddies of mine because I hit a rut. I was like, I cannot grow. I've been stuck at this number for probably 7, 8, 9 weeks. And I was like, what is the problem? And they were like, switch up what you're doing. Not in terms of like the information you're giving,
Sure.
switch up the camera angle, switch up your lighting, switch up, give somebody something different to look at that's not the same old thing because my videos started to look identical. And that is a problem because then you become predictable and people are more likely to just swipe past because we've talked about this. I believe it was in a podcast episode we did with Morph, where people are looking for any reason to swipe.
Yeah.
They're looking for any
Oh yeah.
reason, but either subconsciously or consciously, because all they want is to be entertained. All they want is information. They want what they want at that time. And if you are not providing that, you're going to get swiped on. So the whole thing goes back to, what then, as infuriating as it is good content. And I think good content, when it boils down to it, is content that you can feel confident about and proud of at the end of the day. And you were talking about doing some of your other TikTok account where you're doing more of just you life stuff. There is a possibility, because I know you and I both chase numbers. It's just something that happens when you get into content creation, because
Tell me
numbers are
about
how
it.
you measure. Yeah, numbers are how you measure like how well you're doing.
Yeah.
Like that's the one metric that we can all look at as streamers and content creators and be like, we're either doing bad or we're doing really, really good. You know
Yep.
what I mean? So there is a opportunity there. At the same time, though, even though the numbers wouldn't be there for those posts, you would relate to your audience in a different way and they would be able to see who you really are, uncurated and unedited and out of a video editing software. You know what I mean? So there is a gift to that, but dude, at the same time, I wouldn't post a video like that on my main account because, like you
Yeah.
said, it wouldn't go anywhere. That's not what my account is for. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
talk
I
about the production part of it, and I
yeah,
like, once again, we're kind of in the same boat here. I think your production value and your content definitely needs to increase. I get a lot of compliments on my editing in terms
mhm,
of my gameplay, particularly dumbass plays by an average Warzone player. I get that little series going on, and
yeah,
they
yeah,
they typically they do pretty well in terms of viewership, and people coming over to my Twitch. But yeah, you know what? It takes a long time for me to edit those videos. Hence
yeah,
why
dude,
they don't. I haven't put out a lot of that stuff recently. But you kind of raised a question earlier in terms of when does production get in the way of quantity,
hmm,
and that's where I'm at right now, and I struggle with it because I'm a perfectionist, and for anyone out
sure,
there that's listening to this, don't become a perfectionist, okay? Because
It's a waste of time,
it is
dude.
a waste of time. Like I hyper analyze everything.
Yep.
And you know, you're right. You know, my want to have a high production value in my content, it hinders how much content that I can put out, right? You look at a
Yep.
lot of people who, you know, we'll use Morph as an example. Morph has a great following. He's got good engaging content. He gets a lot of views on his content, right? Morph is somebody who takes his phone and, you know, plops it up right there and just, you know, and records, right? As much as I would love to do that, I literally would
Yeah.
love to do that. I literally can't do that. It's not something that I can do. I have to sit there and I have to pre-record it with my DSLR camera with the lights
Sure.
on,
Sure.
you know, and then edit it to add dramatic, like you said, text, title, and stuff like that. Because I feel like that for me, that's what is going to get my engagement, and it really, you know, that's what has, you know, provided my, you know, my viewership, right? People are
Mhm.
accustomed to my content like that. They've appreciated how much time and effort goes into my content, in terms of editing and, you know, production value. So I
Sure.
will say your production value definitely has to increase over time, but don't let it be like me where it hinders your ability to produce, you know, enough content, right? And for me, 6 months ago, enough content was 3 to 5 posts a day, right? Now enough content for me is one a day. Like I'm happy if I could put out one short form
Sure.
content per day, because I'm doing a lot with you know, the podcast and everything, right? But
Mhm.
it takes me a long time. It's a lot of production value. Now I want to get away from gameplay clips for those that, you know, that enjoy, maybe teaching people stuff, right? Rather it's Twitch tips or particularly tutorials. Um, I see a lot of tutorials, same thing, where people, you know, they get their phones and they're like, oh, you know, this and this, do this.
Dude, I've
I
done that.
I can't. I've
I've
done
done
one
it, dude.
video where I did a firebot. I don't know if it's a say tutorial, but they had questions and I was kind of like,
Sure.
I did that with my phone.
Sure.
I hated it. Absolutely hated it. Because once again, and this is why you don't see a lot of fireball tutorials on TikTok, is because I have to have like that production
Mhm.
value. I have to be like, you know, it has to look nice and it has to be edited, and I want it to be like a screen capture. Um,
Yep. You
you
got
know,
standards for you, man. Like, that's the
yeah,
thing, is like you have standards for you. I get it.
yeah.
I
So,
get it.
but you know, once again, I mean, you know, you look at people out there that are doing tutorials on, you know, whatever, name your product, OBS, you know, whatever bot you're using. They do well with just holding up the camera, right? It's
Mhm.
how you build your audience and what you're satisfied with as a, you know, as a streamer and a content creator, for you to say, I like this, and I'm gonna put it out. But at the same time, Pastor, you kind of talked about it earlier. Your growth was stagnant, right?
Yeah.
And somebody came to you and said, hey, you know what, change it up. And look, if you're posting a lot of content and you're being consistent with your content, but you're not getting the views, you're not getting the growth, maybe it's time to change it up. Maybe it's time to say, hey, you know what? Maybe this isn't working anymore, and I have to change it up and maybe add some more production value into it, or, you know, post a, you know, entirely different piece of content that is, you know, going to get a little more traction than normal.
So the thing also, you mentioned a few things about how you train your audience, and that sounds weird to say it like that, but like how you train your audience to expect content from you. And then also when we were talking about how you need to start changing up your content if things are stagnant, if things start to get really, really slow, if your growth isn't happening. Because I went from, you know, talking about earlier in this podcast, you know, the ability of going viral. I went viral multiple times and gained a huge influx of followers all at one time. Like, I think I went from 5,000 to 20,000 in the course of like a month and a half. And
Jeez,
that
yeah.
was a crazy amount of growth. And then for the last 2 months, I've been stuck at 24,000, 25,000, something along those lines in TikTok. So the one thing that I've had to do is reflect on my content and decide whether or not it was good or not. Because like I have a certain standard, like you said, you have a certain standard of your content. I love to be able to sit here and talk into my camera and do everything with with Streamlabs and chop everything up in DaVinci Resolve and make it look awesome and do captions. I love how that looks. My problem with that is what we talked about beforehand, which is the production value gets in the way of how many TikToks I want to create. Now,
Yep.
I can sit here and I can hit the record button and I can open DaVinci Resolve and I can bang out probably 6 to 7 TikToks, edit them all up, and have good content, so to speak, in my eyes and in my viewers' eyes. However, because I have upped my production value, and this is something that I think you guys need to be aware of, when you up your production value, your quantity is going to go way, way down.
100%.
Typically, unless you have a team of people around you, or unless you have people on the payroll or whatever it may be, I went from making 19 TikToks in a sitting because I could look at my phone, just talk to the phone, and then, do
Yeah.
that,
Yep.
to then making about 10 TikToks a sitting when I uploaded those TikToks I had just made to CapCut to do all the captions and stuff. And then now that I'm doing it in the setting that I'm doing it now, which is Streamlabs, DaVinci Resolve, editing everything, I'm lucky, dude, if I can bang out like 8 TikToks in like maybe an hour long period. And, we were talking with Morph last week or a few weeks ago, and he brought up the fact that he uses TikTok as a tweet. It's like a live
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
live video tweet. And on one hand, I really, really like that.
Yep.
On
Same.
the other hand, I absolutely hate it because it doesn't resonate with my audience, right? Like Morph has done a super good job of holding up the phone and just banging out content. Like that's what
Yeah. Yeah.
his audience is used
I
to.
respect that because I can't do
Dude, yeah.
that.
Dude, what hurts is I used to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And now I've upped my own personal standards. And I'm not saying anything about any other creator that does
Yeah.
this, but for
Yep.
me personally, it's like I sit there and I'm like, I can't just look at the phone. But then when my content starts getting really stagnant with the same old thing over and over again in terms of the camera angle and all this kind of stuff, dude, if you stitch a video with somebody else, you get like 3,000 views out of nowhere. And it's
Yep.
like, oh, I guess that's what the algorithm wants now. Or, oh, the algorithm wants trending sounds now and stuff. So what good content is going to fluctuate. And I think that's what the most infuriating thing is here, is we can't sit here in this podcast and tell you this is exactly what good content is. Now, I will say we can tell you and show you that's a really great produced video
Yeah.
compared to somebody who doesn't have a great produced video who has no views. Based on that, based on streamers that you've seen on TikTok, no one in particular, just in general, who hold their phone up and they try to do a tutorial and their lighting is bad and they're saying a bunch of filler words and they're not really convinced of what they're telling you, as opposed to somebody else who has good lighting, money behind their studio. They can speak eloquently and clearly into the camera. That person has good content if we're going by those two metrics, right? And it is funny. I have found, especially on TikTok, the more money you have, the better stream TikToks you have. That seems to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
The more money that you attain and the more money you put into your stream and your streaming career and the resources of that streaming career, your TikToks seem to be better than everyone else's. And I only say that because of the numbers that are associated with the Maddie K's and the Logs and a few other people that are on TikTok. Is they're booming. They're booming, and it's because their production value, their resources that they throw at it, the message that they have in their TikToks, they're all top tier, which is why they have so many followers. So, it all comes back to how can you make the best content that you can in the here and now for where you are as a content creator? Because we're not all millionaires from content creation. We're not even like all doing this for a job. You know what I mean? Like, how can you make the best content with what you have currently? I think that's the biggest question that's going to allow you to answer that.
Yeah. So I want to bring it back. You mentioned in terms of, us being able to say what is good content, right? It's kind of hard because nobody can sit there and tell you your content is, sucks, or rather it's good or it's bad. It's through, the person that is viewing it, their lens, right? Now, I think that, we can at least say over the course of time what good content, is and what it can do for you. And what I mean by that is, once again, it kind of goes back to the idea that everybody's trying to spam the algorithm to constantly go viral. People use the same sounds, people use the same kind of, the same filters, right? And it's almost like, I feel like people look at it as a loss if their video didn't go viral.
Sure.
So,
oh yeah.
In terms of, what is good content, you need to tell yourself, over the course of time what good content is, not necessarily one particular video. So, for me, I could sit there and post, one video and it might get 500 views or 1,000 views. And, once again, it's subjective. But for me, I'm like, damn, that's a big L, right? But
Sure.
then I'll post another video, maybe I get 5, 10,000 views, and that's a big W. But the same production value went into both of those videos,
Yeah.
and I promise you, those viewers from the 10,000 viewers are gonna go funnel into that other video, and now they're gonna be like, hey, you know what? This person's content is good. I like this person's content. Clearly, it's good content because there was 10,000 views on this one, and now they enjoy this piece of content, right? So it's maintaining consistency over the course of time with your content, and it goes back to putting production value into your content over the course of time. And I say that because once again, don't jump into it like we did, where we're like at this point now where our quantity kind of suffers. And look,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, right? I really am. I look at my content, and I'm okay with not being able to put out a lot of content because I can't, slack. I don't want to say slack. I can't allow myself to, change up how my content is perceived. People
Sure.
appreciate the fact of the production value and the quality of my content. So I'm not going to sacrifice. Now, I will say, to kind of fill in some gaps, you mentioned like stitches and duets. Do those. Literally, some of my
Yeah.
most viewed videos on TikTok come from stitches and duets. Like straight up, stitches and duets will get you a ton of views, and kind of just whether it's something funny or you give your 2 cents. And I have suffered in terms of my last month and a half doing those sort of things, stitches and duets. So if you are somebody like Pastor or I, where we kind of focus on a lot on production and quality, you can kind of fill in the gaps a little bit with stitches and duets, where you can kind of still post one video a day, and then maybe you're doing a stitch or a duet
Hmm.
for the other 2 videos. That way you can maintain that 3 videos per day, every single day, and post to maintain whatever, trying to get your content out through the algorithm.
Sure. And I think also too, you're going to go through seasons of posting good content on different platforms. And this is what this is going to do, okay? So what I've noticed, especially over the last 6 months, is because we have now created this content creation machine that has so many moving parts, there will be times where one part of your content suffers in order for another part of your content to succeed. I have been going ham on YouTube right now. I think right now I've had one video come out every single day since the 1st of November
Jeez,
till
yeah,
I think it's the 16th right now of December, and I'm still making videos every single day for YouTube. So has that caused other aspects of my stuff to suffer? Absolutely. Like
yeah.
I don't sit down and batch content nearly as much for TikTok as I used to, even though
Hmm.
that's where the majority of my audience is. Where my long-term goal is in YouTube. Because we don't know how long TikTok is going to be around in the United States. We have no idea, but we
Sure.
do know that YouTube is never going away. YouTube is here for life. So that has been something that I've noticed is like your production value of one area of your content may suffer in order to get the production value of a different area of your content to succeed. And it's okay. And this is a whole nother episode. It's okay to take breaks from certain types of content. It's okay
Yeah,
to walk away from content for a season too. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I didn't post on TikTok. I think part of it was unintentionally, part of it was because I was going through a move. I didn't post on there for like 3 weeks. And you know what happened? Nothing. I
yeah.
had some dip in my viewership that I had to recover from for like a week and a half or so, but I was still posting videos once I came back every like twice a day. And that comes from batching content. They were all still good videos in my opinion. They were good content. Now, just because your views don't go out and just because you don't get as many views on certain stuff as you do from other things, you still put a placeholder video there, which is what we're talking about with the stitches and duets and that kind of stuff. I didn't, I, there recently, you can go back to my TikTok page. You can see over the last 3 weeks, there are a few stitches and duets in there because I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the content and I didn't have the ability to record what I wanted to
Yep.
in that moment. But I knew that I needed to be on the platform, right? I knew I needed to be on the platform. And another thing that Dad said about your videos, about having like a video that only gets 5,000 views opposed to a video getting 10,000 views. I have noticed in my experience with TikTok that even if you get a low viewer count video, AKA not good content, the first week, your video is going to circulate on the For You
It's so
page
strange.
multiple times.
So
It is
strange.
very, very weird, dude, because dude, I still have from 9 months ago, every once in a while, I'll get people liking my 6 million view video. Still now. It's
Yeah.
not a lot, but it's like 15 people like this video. I was
Yeah.
like, so that's still out there. But then also content that I put out like 6 months ago that maybe only got, 2,000 views at the time. If you scroll back and look at your views now, it's got like 10,000,
Yep.
12,000 views because it's been on there and people are still looking through it. So, what you perceive in the moment as bad content or stuff that is not getting a lot of views for you, as streamers, we get super caught up in like the here and now and like
Yep.
this stream was good, this stream was bad, this stream was good, or this video was bad, this video was good. But if you give it time and look back in hindsight and through a lens that's 2020, you're going to see that it all added to the graph of you just going up. You know what I mean? So
100%.
it depends. It just depends on a billion different factors overall, but it depends on if your production value is decent, if you're confident in the content that you're putting out, if your audience is resonating with your content. Like good content in general depends on too many factors to nail just one down. But I think overall, those are the main factors in it.
I could see the comments now. I could see the comments now.
Go away, YouTube.
I listened to 35 minutes of this just to find out that good content is they don't know what the definition is. 100%. Listen, good content is subjective. All right. The main factors to put away is if you could walk away and say, you know what, I put in effort, I put in time to create this piece of content, then that's good content. All right. Now, obviously, there's some things to learn. I think with every piece of content, whether it's good or bad, you can walk away and say, I learned something to improve my content next time, right? Yep. And number two, if you are somebody, doing gameplay clips, which is majority of people, don't do the dumping. All right. I promise you, you're going to have a hard time with getting viewership if you just clip dump. You have to at least put a little bit of editing into your clips to be able to get a number of views. Now, obviously, once again, you should continuously improve that content over time, but you should avoid clip dumping altogether. Just don't clip dump.
All right, guys, we are all finished with this episode of the Live Button Podcast. Thank you so much for watching, listening, wherever you were listening, wherever you're watching. We appreciate it a ton. If you are on YouTube, make sure to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you can know we're making more content on the Live Button. And also, Dad the Gamer, real quick, where can they find you on all your social medias? What's the handle for you? All that jazz.
Yeah, so Twitch, it's twitch.tv/DadTheGamer. The E is the 3 at the end. And Dad the Gamer, I'm on Twitch, YouTube. I have multiple YouTubes. My new YouTube channel, I just made it, Stream with Dad the Gamer. I'm going to be putting out a bunch of content on streaming and that sort of stuff, tutorials. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, make sure to drop a follow. If you like Call of Duty content, my main account, Dad the Gamer, you can find me on there as well. What about yourself, Pastor?
Yeah, dude. So you can find me on Twitch at Pastorgainz, twitch.tv/Pastorgainz. And then every single other platform that I'm on is iampastorgainz. It's all one word. Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, all that jazz. That's where you can find me. So guys, we appreciate it a ton. Thank you so much for listening. And until next week, we'll see you then.